3 years ago, I was exiled overseas by the person I love the most. 3 years later, I finally get to come back home, but I no longer love Colin. Still, everyone looks at me with eyes full of warning. Chloe, are you still clinging to Colin? Still trying to ruin things between Rose and Colin? 3 years abroad and you still haven't learned your lesson. Colin's too soft, he never should have let you come back. Someone like her should be in jail, should have just died overseas. I just looked at them in silence. But later, I heard something, and I broke, muttering under my breath. Cameron, have you seen my Cameron? Please, don't die. You promised, you said you'd come find me again. I lost my mind for a long time. Finally, no one thought I was faking it anymore. Colin pushed through the crowd and held me tight. But even his hands were trembling. Chloe, what's wrong? Who's Cameron? Please don't scare me, okay? Chapter 1. I had just returned to my home country for less than an hour, and I had already received over a dozen threatening messages. How dare you come back? Didn't the foreign gangs beat you up? You really needed it. Why didn't the plane blow up and take you with it? I didn't read the messages. I just opened my laptop, logged into my email, and quickly sent a message. Just a simple one. I've returned safely. The avatar on the other end was still dark, and the message was never answered. I stared blankly at the screen, hearing footsteps. I closed the laptop. The woman with the high-pinned hair was my mother. Chloe, why are you looking at Mom like a stranger? I stayed dazed for a while longer. My mother wiped her tears and left. That night, I heard something being smashed in the study. Is she blaming us? She pushed Rose down the stairs. Rose was in a coma for 3 months. Stop it. It's all in the past. Colin and Rose are about to get engaged. Let's not cause trouble now. The hand holding my glass trembled slightly. I turned and quietly walked away. Chapter 2. Early in the morning, I sat quietly in front of my laptop. Halfway through, I went downstairs to grab something to eat. My mom was watching TV in the living room. Suddenly, the TV host announced breaking news. #breaking, the Han Corporation has announced the engagement ceremony of Mr. Colin and Miss Rose to be held mid-next month. I froze in place. An engagement on an island? I vaguely remember, once, I had also clung to Colin, begged him. The island is so romantic. Can we hold our engagement there? He only gave a cold, annoyed look. Chloe, can you stop messing around? I'm working. Seeing his frustration, I immediately sat quietly beside him. Okay, I won't talk. You can work. The memory faded. I came back to myself. My mom saw me and got startled. Chloe, why did you come downstairs? Are you going out? Where to? Mom will go with you. She was already telling someone to get her bag, and searching for the remote to turn off the TV. Seeing her nervous and awkward movements, I understood. She was afraid I would act like I did back then, cling to Colin like gum on his shoe. But Mom, I won't do that anymore. Never again. I'm not going out. Just came down to get something to eat. What? I had already grabbed a bottle of milk and headed back upstairs. On the stairs, my mom still looked stunned. Chloe, you. I sniffled. Mom, just keep watching TV. I'm going back to work. After the Han Corporation released the engagement announcement, some old rumors resurfaced online, including the widely spread story of how I once crazily pushed Rose down the stairs. Half of the netizens sent blessings to the couple. The other half cursed me. Wow. Finally announced. Congrats and best wishes. Hee hee. 100 years of happiness. Lots of babies. Wish you all the best. And Chloe? She doesn't dare show her face now. Huh? Must be dying of jealousy. Heard she was forcibly sent abroad. Such a terrible person. Did she really think hurting Rose would make Colin love her? All those schemes. And in the end, she still lost. Bad people never get happy endings. I numbly looked at the screen and closed the webpage. But I didn't expect, at dinner. My dad brought Colin home. I happened to be coming downstairs to eat and saw the whole scene. Standing at the stairway. My body went numb. Why was he here at the Sue family's home? As the powerful President Han, he would have known I was back the moment I landed. No, maybe I could return only because he finally gave his permission. That's why Dad dared bring me back. My dad invited him into the study. He also signaled to my mom to quickly get me out of sight before I caused any trouble. I kept my head down and followed my mom to the living room couch. The study door wasn't closed. A slight turn of my head, and I could see his tall figure, a black suit, neatly trimmed hair. He was always the king among men, no one more handsome, more commanding. I looked away. It seemed my dad was looking for some document. Colin hadn't even sat down. He didn't touch the tea either. He took what he came for and turned to leave. Chloe, help me check if this purse looks good? My mom asked, trying to shift my focus. I turned back and looked. Mom, it's nice. 5 minutes later, a pair of long legs stepped out. My mom stood to politely ask him to stay. Colin, have dinner with us before you go? Of course. We both knew he wouldn't stay, but no one could afford to offend the Han family. Colin finally turned his head, for the first and only time since entering, and looked at me. That look, indifferent, detached, like looking at a stranger. I sat stiffly on the couch, unmoving. If it were before, I would have rushed over, clinging to his arm, calling him Colin G sweetly over and over. But now, I sat quietly, as if he no longer mattered. He gave a slight nod. No, Aunt Sue, I have things to attend to. He turned away, gaze leaving me, and walked off. He had taken 2 steps, when I suddenly clenched my fist and spoke up. Wait. He stopped, paused stiffly and turned back slightly. My mom was already clutching my arm in panic. Chloe, what are you doing? Colin said he's busy. I felt the pain from my mother's grip. His eyes darkened slightly too. What is it, Miss Sue? Fine. I didn't call him Colin G anymore, and he addressed me coldly as Miss Sue. Not Chloe, not even by my name. I took a deep breath. There's something I need to return to you. Just a second. I pulled my hand free and ran upstairs, entered a code, opened the innermost drawer, and took out a square box, ran back down. Everyone downstairs looked at me coldly, as if I was about to cause another scene. But when I took out the deep blue box, everyone seemed to understand. My parents' cold expressions softened. This was something I once asked Grandma Han for, but it doesn't suit me. I'm giving it back. Return it to its rightful owner. It seemed it wasn't what he had expected. When I handed it over, he looked genuinely surprised. The darkness on his face faded. Inside the box was an antique bracelet, an heirloom passed down in the Han family. No one had ever approved of me, but Grandma Han had favored me. When I turned 20, she gave me that bracelet symbolizing a future Han daughter-in-law. For a time, I really believed I would become Mrs. Han, but I later learned those dreams were fragile and unrealistic. After a long silence, he finally reached out and took it. Colin Han left with the bracelet. My mom came over and gently patted my head to comfort me. Chapter 3. I started working at 3rd Municipal Hospital a week later. I had studied medicine as an undergraduate and spent over 2 years at a research institute abroad. Still, my parents were a little uneasy. I knew they had someone tailing me. I wasn't angry. After all, Colin and Rose's engagement couldn't be disturbed. It would only hurt the Sue family. I wanted to tell them they had nothing to worry about. The old Chloe was long gone. The new Chloe didn't love Colin anymore. I didn't expect Rose would register to see me just a few days after I started working at the hospital. We sat across from each other, the air thick with awkwardness. She said she had a cough, but her symptoms were extremely mild. I realized she hadn't come to see a doctor, she came to see me. I prescribed her some simple meds. She held the prescription but didn't leave. She took off her sunglasses. Chloe, you've lost weight. I didn't want to have anything to do with our old circle, and especially not with Rose. Once, we both liked the same man. I had lost, completely and miserably. I avoided her comment and kept my tone light. The pharmacy's on the 1st floor. I need to see my next patient. Still, she didn't leave. She stared at me. You've changed a lot. You used to be the loudest of us all. Now you're so quiet. I gave a small smile. Rose, are you here for a checkup? Or is there something else you want? She didn't respond. She put on her sunglasses and left. But just before she walked out the door, I looked down at her legs. 3 years ago, she had fallen down the stairs and injured her legs badly. She'd had multiple surgeries and lost a lot of blood. That was the reason I became the scapegoat. Only the two of us were upstairs then. I insisted she fell on her own. No one believed me. Colin had carried her. Eyes full of pain. Colin GE. It wasn't me. I didn't push her. I tried to explain, but before I could finish, he kicked me in the stomach. Get lost. That was the first time I was ever hit. Probably the first time he ever hit a woman. Within a couple of days, I received a lawsuit from Hahn Corporation's lawyers. Rose wasn't even part of the Hahn family. It was Colin who wanted to get justice for her. I almost went to jail. They said it was old Master Hahn who begged on my behalf. And that's why I was sent abroad instead. I subconsciously touched my stomach. That kick had been really hard. To this day, whenever it rains, the pain comes back faintly. The next time I saw Colin was at a bar. It was a department gathering. Our private booth happened to be next to his. One of the younger doctors, Law, had too much to drink. He saw Rose in the hallway and asked for her WeChat. Rose slapped him. Her slap brought everyone from both booths out into the corridor. In the crowd, I immediately saw Colin, who everyone seemed to instinctively make space for. Rose rushed into his arms. Colin, someone just tried to touch me. Dr. Law defended himself. I only asked for your WeChat. I didn't even touch you. Miss. In fact, you hit me. Just say no if you don't want to give it. You can't just hit someone. Colin's face darkened. I clenched my fists. Our department head finally realized who was across from us and rushed to pull Dr. Law back. Shut your mouth. Don't you see who this is? This is Mr. Hahn, president of Hahn Corporation. Apologize to Mrs. Hahn right now. Law was momentarily sobered by the reprimand, but he was still young. He tried to defend himself again. Mr. Hahn, I don't think I need to apologize. I didn't hurt your fiancée. I didn't even touch her. I swear I'm telling the truth. I clenched my palms. Law didn't realize every word he said could cost him dearly. Chapter 4. Really? So, you're saying Rose is lying? Colin's eyes narrowed slightly. The aura he exuded instantly made everyone around back away. The entire hallway fell silent. Still standing there? Apologize. The department head scolded Alex again and bowed deeply toward Colin. Mr. Hahn, he's just a young kid who doesn't know any better. But Alex refused to apologize no matter what. Take him to our booth, Colin ordered coldly. What? What are you doing? Let me go. It wasn't even a minute before the sounds of fists hitting flesh echoed from inside the booth. Along with Alex's cries of pain, the department head panicked. But he couldn't stop Alex's fate. Everyone else just kept their heads down, not daring to speak. Who would dare go against a city's most powerful businessman, Colin Hahn? He could do anything he wanted. When I first joined, Alex was the one who helped me with my onboarding. Though I felt sorry for him, I couldn't do anything to help him. What I didn't expect was for Colin to let go of Rose, glance at me, and walk right up to me. He stared at me intensely. Chloe, tell me what happened. I was momentarily confused by his question, but I believed Alex. I also wanted to protect him. Mr. Hahn, I believe Alex. He already got slapped. Isn't that enough? I felt sweat breaking out across my forehead after I said that. He curled his lips into a smirk. I thought he believed me. But then he said, Chloe, did you put him up to it? Still scheming, trying to hurt others? If we weren't here tonight, who knows what that drunk colleague of yours would have done to Rose? Ruined her, maybe? My mind went blank. Not only did he not believe me, he thought I was the one behind it. He loomed closer, his oppressive presence making it hard for me to stand. Mr. Hahn, you must be joking. I wouldn't dare. I forced a bitter smile, but he wasn't done with me. His piercing gaze made my abdomen go numb and cold. You wouldn't dare? 3 years ago, you pushed someone down the stairs. Now, you put on this weak act and think people won't see through you? He suddenly pressed my head against the wall. I couldn't move. Even my colleagues were frozen in shock. The department head tried to intervene, but Colin snapped at him. Back off! No one dared get closer. I looked around at the familiar faces. Just like 3 years ago, When Colin kicked me to the floor, they had the same look of satisfaction and moral superiority. I looked at Colin, the man who now seemed to hate me to the core. Suddenly, I felt exhausted. I shrugged and laughed bitterly. Fine, I'd own it. Yes, Mr. Hahn, I told him to do it. So stop hitting Alex, hit me instead. Let him go, take me, beat me to death. If that's what you want. I became more emotional with every word. Alex's cries were growing louder and more painful. I don't know where my courage came from. I stared straight into Colin's eyes. Did you hear me? I said I did it. Come on. Hit me. Aim your fists at me. I was furious, like a little leopard baring her teeth, but tears wouldn't stop falling. My baiting tactic didn't work. Alex was still beaten badly. On the way home, I walked along the riverside. A car screeched to a halt, and I was dragged in and the door slammed shut. 3 tall, burly men were inside. I screamed for help, but one of them knocked me unconscious. When I woke up, I was in a cold, unfamiliar villa. Where is this? Who are you people? There were others in the room, but no one answered. I checked my pockets, thankfully. My phone was still there. I quickly pulled it out, but instead of calling the police, I instinctively sent a flurry of emails to that dark avatar. My whole body was shaking. Young master, she's using her phone. What if she's calling the police? I looked up in fear. The man who entered was Colin. I froze. He approached, face cold and stern. I panicked and tried sending more emails, but none of them were ever answered. He snatched the phone away. What are you sending? I turned off the screen without my fingerprint. He couldn't unlock it. Then I snapped, shouting, Colin, why did you bring me here? What do you want? He just looked at me, cold and silent. He was too tall. I was cornered on the couch. I realized my clothes had slipped off one shoulder. Maybe it was my imagination, but I felt like his gaze lingered there. I quickly pulled my clothes tight. What are you looking at? Maybe this was the first time I'd ever spoken to him so harshly. I was genuinely scared. Where was this place? What was he planning? But he ignored me. He turned and walked upstairs. I grabbed a phone from the table and ran to the door, but the bodyguards blocked my way. I turned back. Colin was standing on the staircase, watching me. Don't bother. This is my place. Without my permission. Do you think you can leave? My temples throbbed. What do you want? It's late. I want to go home. I already told Uncle Sue I needed to speak with you. He agreed. What? So my dad knew I'd been taken by Colin. Well, it made sense. 3 years ago, when Colin ordered me out of the country, my dad didn't dare argue. Even now, being taken away for a reckoning, my father could only agree. All the fight drained out of me. So, he planned to punish me for what I said at the bar. Right, he didn't want to do it in public. In front of others, he brought me to his own territory. I understood now. I stood upright, pretending to be brave. Don't go. Just have your people do it. Once you're done, I'll leave. I don't have time to waste here. He paused on the stairs. He looked like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Then he walked down. Chapter 5. Stop pretending. Aren't you just here to stand up for Rose? Go ahead. Hit me, as long as I don't end up dead. I'm still leaving. Just being in your place makes it hard for me to breathe. I don't know which sentence triggered him. Suddenly, he grabbed my neck. Say that again? My place makes you feel like you can't breathe? I tried to pry his hands off, but I couldn't, so I gave up and let him be. But then, he let go. I leaned against the wall, coughing violently. Chloe, if you don't want to die, you'd better keep quiet. He went upstairs again, left me with 2 bodyguards downstairs. I held on until the middle of the night. I searched the whole first floor, but couldn't find any way out. In the end, cold and hungry, I crawled into a bed on the first floor and wrapped myself in a blanket. I fell into a restless sleep, full of nightmares. I dreamt of my days overseas, kicking, screaming, "Don't come near me, get away. I have no money. Really, none. Please, let me go. It hurts. Dad, Mom, save me. Why can't I sell blood anymore? I'm fine. I can handle it. I need money so badly. Doctor, every time I sank into these nightmares, I couldn't wake up. I had to endure them all, as if only after punishment was complete, I could be released. In my daze, someone seemed to be standing beside me, shouting loudly, "What are you waiting for? Go get a doctor." Yes, sir. The nightmare was finally interrupted. I turned over and curled back into sleep. Not long after, someone seemed to be touching my hand. Then, a cold liquid flowed into my veins, spreading through my body. The discomfort eased a little. How is she? She still has a fever. Once the 3-4 bags are done, it should go down. The conversation went on. There's a room next door. Go get some rest. Mr. Han, may I examine Miss Sue? I may need to remove some of her clothing. The speaker sounded nervous. I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything inappropriate. Maybe you should do it. Mr. Han, what exactly are you trying to say? That voice, it sounded just like Colin. Miss Sue appears to have many injuries. Chapter 6. Get out. Half asleep. I felt someone moving my clothes. I raised my hand instinctively to stop them, but my body was too weak. I couldn't stop it. My upper body was stripped bare. I was furious. Don't touch my clothes. Maybe it was because the person's movements were so gentle, I didn't feel scared. I murmured, "Help me put it back on. I'll catch a cold again, and it'll hurt." Some of the wounds, they haven't healed even after so many tries. In the haze of sleep, something warm, a drop of warmth landed on my chest. In the depths of the dream, I saw someone I hadn't dreamt of in years, Colin, and he was crying. In the pitch-black dream, did I see wrong? I tried to follow, to see more clearly, but the sun was already up. I opened my eyes, sat up, and saw the needle mark on the back of my hand. I shook my head, quickly got out of bed, and walked out, but my body was still too weak. Outside the room, on the marble dining table, a spread of aromatic dishes was laid out. I heard footsteps and turned my head. Colin, dressed in light gray loungewear. I clenched my fists. Can I go home now? I've talked to Uncle Sue. I'll be borrowing you for about a month. What? He said no more, just walked past me and sat down at the dining table. I kept my tone cool, trying not to explode. But I have to go to work. I'm about to be late. Then, he picked up the phone and made a call. Director Tang, please approve a 1-month leave for Chloe from the cardiopulmonary department. Just as I was about to grab the phone and talk to the director, he had already hung up. Who gave you the right to decide for me? Colin, you're being too much. He merely glanced at me. Because the fate of your Sue family's business is in my hands. Is that reason enough? I staggered back a step. Chapter 7. Colin went to the office. My phone was gone. I panicked and searched everywhere for it. Miss Sue, are you looking for your phone? Mr. Han took it with him. I rushed to the landline and tried calling Colin to get it back, but he wouldn't answer. I was furious. Colin had put me under house arrest, but there was nothing I could do. Long ago, they had already broken my wings. I could no longer fly. That day, Colin didn't go to the office, and Rose came. She must have found out I was here. Her expression was awful when she arrived. She didn't come inside. She glanced at me. At that moment, I was bandaging a stray dog, then nearly started an argument with Colin. No woman could tolerate another woman staying in her fiancé's home. But this time, Colin didn't rush to comfort her unconditionally. That tall figure of his held a touch of indifference. Soon after, Rose followed Colin upstairs. Through the villa's glass, I could see them heading all the way up. I didn't dwell on it. I went back to wrapping the stray dog's wounds. Half an hour later, I walked into the villa. Rose was just coming down the stairs. I didn't avoid her. Sure enough, she dropped her act and slapped me hard across the face. Slut. The sound rang out. Colin, who was standing at the top of the stairs, saw the whole thing. I looked up at him, then I returned her slap, louder and harder. Scared? Well, I want you to feel miserable. Bet you didn't know, I've been sleeping in his bed these days. As expected, Rose's eyes almost popped out of her head. She nearly lost her balance. She ran off, completely unable to accept what she just heard. I sneered up the stairs. She's the one who should die. I really wanted to beat her to death. The man upstairs narrowed his eyes and stared at me with a dangerous look. After a few seconds, he surprisingly didn't come down to confront me. I grabbed the disinfectant and went back outside to look for the stray dog again. That night, I couldn't hold out anymore. Colin must be a master at psychological warfare. No one could beat him at it. I stood outside his study door. He heard the footsteps, let out a faint grunt, and turned his head slightly. Something you need? I let out a cold laugh. Colin, are you trying to back out of this engagement? He put down his documents, as if ready to listen to some grand speech. I wasn't a business genius. I didn't understand his tactics. You locked me up here because you're afraid I'll ruin your wedding next week, right? You're too clever for your own good. You don't trust anyone, not unless I'm under your nose. Is that it? But you're wrong. No woman can accept her fiancé having another woman in his home. Keep this up, and I guarantee you'll lose Rose for good. Are you done? His calm response made me feel like every punch I threw landed in soft cotton. And stop being so full of yourself. It's been 3 years since you threw me overseas. Do you even know what kind of life I've had? Did you really think I was studying? Advancing myself? Ever consider that maybe it was hell? Days worse than death? Screaming into the void, begging for help that never came? No matter what, the Chloe who loved Colin is gone. This Chloe doesn't love Colin anymore. My words seemed to set him off completely. The pen in his hand was crushed out of shape. Veins bulged on his forehead. Chloe, if you don't want to die, go back to your room now. I took a deep breath. I want to go home. If that's not possible, I'll go abroad again, and this time, I'll never come back. Suddenly, he grabbed me by the throat. Say that again. I thought he might actually kill me, but after a few seconds, he let go, threw me back into my room. Chapter 8. There was no way out. I started requesting books on neurology. Colin didn't refuse. He had hundreds of them delivered. From then on, I stopped fighting with him. I buried myself in the books, day and night, completely consumed. No one understood why I was reading books on brain surgery. Not even Colin. He tried to probe. Is your head bothering you? I ignored him. He asked again, carefully. Chloe, do you have a friend overseas? Someone with a brain injury? I suddenly looked up sharply. What did you say? A brain injury. What's his name? I jumped to my feet and grabbed him, trembling. Colin, do you know something? Tell me. Hurry, tell me. But Colin looked confused. His brows furrowed. What's wrong with you? Chloe, calm down. After that day, I became more and more withdrawn. I even stopped eating, though honestly, I wasn't doing it intentionally. I just couldn't bring myself to eat. Nothing had any taste. I didn't want anything. Sometimes I thought, maybe it wouldn't be so bad to just quietly disappear from this world. It's such a big world, it doesn't really need me in it. But Colin wouldn't allow it. When he found out I hadn't eaten in days, he brought food himself, forced me into his arms, pried open my mouth, and spoon-fed me, but I refused to swallow. I almost choked to death more than once. Cough cough. He lost it. Chloe, do you have a death wish? I wiped the food from my lips, sneering. That's right, you're afraid I'll die in your house and bring bad luck. Huh, Colin, whatever you're afraid of, I'll make sure to do exactly that. You're a demon. If you're unhappy, then I'm satisfied. He let go of me, powerless. And in his eyes, I saw something I never thought I'd see. Defeat. The usually calculating, in-control Colin looked completely drained. I thought maybe he was finally giving up. But I was wrong. The next second, he scooped a mouthful of rice, chewed it himself, and forced it into my mouth. I struggled to pull away, but he had gone mad. Even as I bit his tongue, he still forced the food down my throat. I had no choice but to swallow. I bent over, clawing at my throat. He let go of me. If you won't eat properly, I'll feed you myself. I don't mind. Soon after, he fed me another spoonful. This time, I didn't dare resist. I opened my mouth, chewed, and swallowed. Just one meal. But by the end, Both our eyes were red, like we were trying to devour each other, not just the food. And of course, I was right. Rose showed up again. This time, it was even worse for her, because after that meal, I never dared to defy Colin again. Otherwise, he'd only find more extreme ways to force me. He even made me sleep with him, though there was always a galaxy of space between us. His excuse was that I screamed and thrashed when it thundered. But next to him, I was quieter. It was a ridiculous excuse, but I had no comeback. Because when I argued, he kissed me. He said I had a filthy mouth, and if I wouldn't shut up when he told me to, then he'd shut me up himself. So, this time, when Rose came, she walked in and saw us on the same bed. What was strange was, I was actually lying in Colin's arms. Normally, we each stayed on our own side, barely touching, but this time, we'd somehow ended up together. I didn't understand it. I usually slept in one fixed position. I never moved. But Colin looked completely unbothered. As expected, Rose lost her mind. She screamed and pulled at me. "What are you doing, Chloe? You slut! I'll kill you! Why can't you leave me alone? Why are you still trying to steal Colin from me? Do you want me to die?" She yanked my hair, but Colin quickly threw her off. The force was so strong, she slammed against the wall. She was completely undone. Her eyes turned bloodshot. I opened my mouth, wanting to explain. "You've got it wrong. We didn't." But I closed it again. That explanation, no one would believe it anyway. And why should I even explain? 3 years ago, she was the one who accused me of pushing her down the stairs. So in the end, I didn't say a word. I just watched her coldly. The chaos didn't last long. Soon, the room was quiet again. Colin calmly took her to the study. They talked for a long time. I could faintly hear her break down from inside. I just sat on the bed, spacing out. It felt like all the noise in the world had nothing to do with me. But I still heard one thing clearly. "No, it's not just a deal. I meant it. Colin, we're getting engaged in 3 days. I'll be your wife." Rose was shouting. "I don't agree with your Han family calling off the engagement tomorrow. I have to marry you. Please, let me marry you." Rose's voice was breaking, and I heard Colin, cold and mechanical as ever. "Rose, what do you think you're doing? We agreed from the start, this so-called engagement announcement was only to stabilize your family's stock price. It was to repay your family's favor from years ago." Chapter 9. I clutched my head. What did I just hear? They were in a contractual relationship? They weren't really getting engaged? I held my head tighter. Everything was a mess, utterly impossible to make sense of. I didn't know how much time had passed when their conversation ended. And then, the two of them were standing at my door. Rose stared at me coldly. Then, she suddenly said, "Colin, can't you see? She's no longer the Chloe from before. Look at her, she's completely lost. She doesn't love you anymore. If she agrees to marry you now, I'll back off immediately. I won't bother either of you ever again. Is that okay?" I slowly let go of my head and looked at the two of them, dazed. Colin looked hesitant at first, but then he walked over to my side and gently took my hand. "Chloe, don't be afraid." I frowned at him. "What are you two talking about?" He brushed the messy hair from my face. "Every word I'm about to say is the truth." He tightened his grip on my hand for a moment, then slowly released it and pulled out a red velvet box from his belt. With a soft click, it opened. Inside was a dazzling 10-carat diamond ring. Rose was stunned. "You." Colin lifted my hand and kissed the back of it softly. For some reason, I could feel his hand trembling. Just as I was about to yank my hand back, Colin dropped to one knee. "Chloe, will you marry me? If you say yes, the Han Corporation will be yours to command. I will be yours to command. I will love you forever and spend the rest of my life making up for everything I've done." I couldn't make sense of any of it. "Colin, what are you saying? I don't understand a word. Am I dreaming?" I pinched myself. It hurt. It was real, and I was completely lost. "Chloe, from now on, I'll love you 1,000 times more. I'll make you the happiest woman in the world. Please say yes, will you? I've never loved anyone else. I used to think you were just clingy, and it annoyed me. I wanted space, peace, To be alone. But the truth is, my world has only ever had you in it. I was just too stupid to see it. I was unbelievably wrong. You were always full of life and energy. But I kept thinking my future wife should be more quiet, more refined, so I sent you away, hoping you'd mature through experience. But I was wrong, you don't need to change. And that idiotic decision only ended up hurting you even more. I was a monster. I blinked, stunned. What did I just hear? I looked at Colin's long fingers, they were trembling. His eyes were fixed on mine with utter focus. Even though he was still wearing yesterday's shirt and trousers, he looked as composed and elegant as ever, while I was a total mess. Hair like a bird's nest, disheveled and pitiful. Anyone who saw us would probably think I was the lucky one, Cinderella being proposed to. A long silence. Then I finally opened my mouth. But Colin, I don't love you anymore, and I'm not going to marry you. The man kneeling before me trembled violently. His lips parted, but his voice was hoarse. Chloe, you're just upset, right? It's okay. I know you've suffered so much. You blame me. You hate me. I'll kneel here as long as it takes, until your anger fades. It felt like the biggest joke I'd ever heard. I sneered at him. Colin, don't you get it? I'm saying we are never getting back together, ever. Even if you kneel until next year, it won't change a thing. My voice was calm, cold. That scene I once dreamed about over and over, it was happening now. But I felt nothing. Time really is cruel. It had taken away the best dream of a young girl. Get up. Stop kneeling. I've already rejected you. And almost at the same time, his eyes turned red. His whole body trembled. His bloodshot eyes stared into mine. And he still tried to force a smile. Chloe, don't say such cruel things. After the wedding, I'll do everything I can to make it up to you. Even if you want to stab me, kill me, I won't stop you. Just say yes, please. He gripped my hand tighter and tighter, like I was the most precious thing in the world. I know I was wrong. Please, just give me another chance. But I didn't feel moved. Not even a little. Colin, even if everything you said is true, I still don't love you. I don't want to marry you. Before I could finish, if you want to get married, go ahead. Marry whoever you want, as long as it's not me. Honestly, I could marry anyone, as long as it's not you. That finally broke him. He could barely stay upright on his knees. The only thing holding him steady was how tightly he clung to my hand. I pulled back the blanket and got out of bed. Colin, can I leave now? I took one step, and he grabbed my wrist again. That's when I noticed, his skin was burning hot. He was running a fever. Don't go. Think about it again. I swear, I'll give up everything to marry you. Just say yes, please. Chloe. The old me was horrible, but I'll never wrong you again. A burning hot tear dropped from where our hands met. It wasn't mine. But even so, I couldn't cry. I had to say it again. Colin, do you not understand human language? I said I don't want to. Never. Did you hear me clearly? I struggled to pull my hand away. He was holding it too tightly. I had to turn around and pry each of his fingers off, one by one. When our hands finally separated, the velvet ring box he had been holding in his other hand fell to the soft carpet with a dull thud. The three of us. I was numb. Colin cried. Rose smiled. Colin knelt there, like he'd lost his mind. Chloe, this is your last chance. Do you know, the Sue family's entire business runs on contracts with the Han Corporation. Have you ever thought about why I was helping them? I was going to be your father's son-in-law. That was the reason. The respect you got. The stability of your world, it all came from the Sue family. If they collapse, where will that leave you? When that day comes, I won't help you again. I'll treat you like a stranger. Have you really thought this through? I clenched my fists, but my expression remained cold as ice. Good. Then from now on, we're strangers. Goodbye. Mr. Han. Behind me, Colin Han. Didn't I tell you? You wouldn't succeed. And after this, we'll still be getting married, right? Chapter 10. On the day of the Han Corporation's engagement party, I lost my mind. All because a breaking international news alert aired on a massive screen in the plaza. #medical genius Cameron declared brain dead overseas. Allegedly. His only final words were, "Good kid. Don't be scared. I'm always here." I had gone out in the morning, planning to visit a bookstore and pick up more neurology texts. That's when I saw the news on the big screen, and I couldn't take another step. His face, his body, was displayed on the operating table on that giant screen. Everything came rushing back. The person I loved was named Cameron, on a street abroad, when I was beaten and assaulted by thugs. It was him who saved me. He was the one who wiped away my tears. Don't be afraid anymore. From now on, I'll protect you. After he appeared, no one ever shouted, "Go back to your country," at me again. No one beat me because I couldn't afford to pay protection money anymore. He was so good to me. He took me to see a therapist, helped me get into a medical research institute so I could continue my studies. He was gentle. He said that once I finished school, we'd travel the world together, taste the best food across the globe, and then, on a romantic beach, he'd put a ring on my finger, hold me forever. I once told him the scars the gang carved into my body were hideous, but he kissed them again and again. They're not ugly. Silly. Not ugly at all. Husband just feels sorry. It's my fault I wasn't there earlier to protect you. I loved him so much. I studied so hard, hoping to become someone as brilliant as he was. I wanted to graduate quickly so I could marry him. But that afternoon of September 7th, a huge truck came hurtling toward us. He pushed me out of the way and never woke up again. My whole body trembled. I shoved through the crowd gathered below the screen, sobbing uncontrollably. Everything hurt. I couldn't breathe, like I was suffocating, like I was dying. No, it can't be real, right? My hands shaking, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't forgotten. The call connected, but all I heard was someone crying. I broke down and screamed, then immediately tried to book a flight. On the way to the airport, Colin stopped me. "Chloe, what's wrong? Calm down." "Colin, let me go. I have to see the most important person in my life." I kicked and bit him. Tears poured from my eyes as I begged him to let me go. "Colin, he's gone. I need to see him one last time. His name is Cameron. He was the kindest soul in this world." Chapter 11. I woke up in a hospital, tied down completely, surrounded by white coats, doctors standing at attention. "You all." A mouthful of blood shot up from my chest, staining the sheets red. "Who gave you the right to tie me down? Where am I? Is this overseas? Where's Cameron? Take me to him." I struggled with all my might, but no one untied me. They all looked at me like emotionless machines. "Mr. Hahn, Miss Sue's condition is highly unstable. Her vitals are poor." That's when I noticed Colin was there, too, dressed in a black suit. Trembling, he caught the blood I vomited in his hands, and when he saw the warm liquid pool in his palms, his eyes went red. His voice cracked. "Chloe, please, don't do this to yourself anymore. Your body won't make it." But I shoved him away. "I need to see Cameron. I have to find him. He's still alive, isn't he? He promised he'd marry me one day." The more I spoke, the harder the tears fell, mixing with the blood at the corners of my lips. I thrashed against the bindings holding me down. All that was left was despair. Who hypnotized me? That bastard, who made me forget him. Damn it! I lunged at Colin, biting him hard, demanding, "Colin, it was you, wasn't it? You hired someone to erase my memories. You made me forget the person I loved most. How could you be such a bastard?" "He died, okay? He bled so much." I held his head. I wanted to put the blood back inside him, but he still smiled at me, with the last of his strength. He said, "Don't cry, okay?" I hate it when Chloe cries. My whole body convulsed, completely beyond control. I remembered everything, but all I could recall were those 3 final days after Cameron's accident. When he lay in that operating room, everything else was gone, because I wasn't with him. I had been hypnotized, made to forget him. I left the hospital, and never remembered him again. All I remembered was an old, familiar email address. Whenever I was sad, I'd send messages to that inbox. I even came back to the country, completely forgetting him. The guilt crushed me. My heart ached so badly. I missed him so much. Colin's hand was bleeding, deep bite marks across it. The doctors all panicked. insisting he get disinfected and bandaged. But I turned away and bit my own tongue hard. Colin rushed over, trying to pry my mouth open. Chloe, what are you doing? Stop it! I'll take you to see him, just let go, okay? At that, I released my tongue. He hurried to check my mouth, but I slapped his hand away. Don't touch me, Colin. You said you'd take me to him. I'm going, right now, I shouted. But a sharp sting spread across my body, and once again, I lost consciousness. Chapter 12. When I woke up again, many days had passed. The hospital room was quiet. No restraints this time. But strangely, I didn't run. I saw the calendar. It had been 10 days since Cameron's death. If I went now, I probably wouldn't even make it in time to see him before he was laid to rest. God, I was awful. The person who loved me the most got into a car accident, went brain dead, and I stayed by his side for only 3 days before forgetting him. Forgotten him. Somewhere overseas. Even after he died, I hadn't gone to see him. Tell me, has the world ever known a girlfriend as cold and heartless as me? I deserve to die. I have no right to face him. He must have been so hurt. In life, he cherished me more than anything. In winter, when I got cold easily, he'd boil water and soak my feet for me. In summer, he was scared I'd get sick from cold popsicles, so he'd warm them with his hands first before giving them to me. He was always so thoughtful, and now I was telling myself not to go see him, because I didn't have the face to. I didn't want him to see me and be disappointed. He was so handsome, so warm, so talented, so full of responsibility. In his next life, he's bound to meet the best girl in the world. Unlike me, like some debt collector from a past life, he saved me, took care of me, and in the end, died to protect me. What am I? Some unforgivable monster? I should have died at the hands of those gang members. I should never have followed him home. If he'd never met me, he wouldn't have died. He would have lived a full, beautiful life. He was brilliant. Everyone called him a genius in general medicine. How could I ever atone for that? Even in death, I can't repay what I owe. Chloe, can I take you outside for some fresh air? It was Colin again. I didn't respond, just stared numbly at the sparrows outside the window. He sat quietly at the edge of my bed, turning his face to watch me in silence. His eyes looked terrible, sunken, red. He hadn't shaved. He looked awful. Why had I ever thought he was handsome? I must have been blind. After a long silence, his ashes, they were brought back to China. He's buried in Redwood Cemetery. Don't you want to go see him? Without warning, a tear slipped from the corner of my eye. Colin reached up to wipe it. Don't cry. You still have me. I'll always stay with you. I turned my face away. My eyes were filled with disgust. His hand hung in midair for a moment, then fell limply to his side. I looked into everything. He said, after you went abroad, it wasn't what we thought, not further education, not research. The day your flight landed, that $1 million fund your family sent was stolen. You couldn't go to school. You had nothing. You worked endlessly just to survive. And when there was no other choice, you sold your blood. Those people, they beat you, exploited you, made you pay them protection money over and over. He couldn't go on. His head dropped. Then, he actually covered his face and broke down crying. So, he understood now. He finally knew how good Cameron was. Cameron had saved me. He was the best man in the world. Colin? He didn't even measure up to Cameron's pinky. Colin cried louder. I let out a bitter laugh. If the media caught this on camera, the view count would probably break 1 billion. The mighty CEO of Honcorp, 28 years old, crying like a stray dog. But I felt nothing, only thought, God, he sounds so ugly when he cries. Chapter 13. About half a month later, I finally went to see Cameron, even in black and white. His photo on the tombstone looked so handsome. Whoever chose it had great taste. The corners of his lips were curled in a slight smile, as if he wasn't angry at all that his useless girlfriend had run away after his accident. Like, just seeing me made him happy. It felt good, knowing Cameron didn't hate me. That way, I could keep loving him quietly, remembering him, cherishing him. Cameron, Is it cold where you are now? You always said I was clumsy, but I knitted you a scarf. It's just for you. Don't think it's ugly, okay? I pulled a warm red scarf from my bag and gently wrapped it around his tombstone. Then I sat with him in silence all afternoon. Just being next to him made me feel happy. See? I told you, he was the best person in the world. He didn't blame me. He didn't tell me to leave. And I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to stay with him. Forever. Chapter 14. I clearly remembered falling asleep beside Cameron's grave. But when I woke up, I was home. Confused. I looked around. Chloe, you're awake. Are you hungry? Mom made sweet rice dumplings. Have some, okay? I sat up. My mom brought over a bowl, just about to feed me. I turned my face away. Mom, where's Cameron? I was just with him. She put the bowl down and wiped her eyes, turning to my dad. Old Sue. Chloe. Dad pulled her into his arms, but she only cried harder. It's all our fault. Why didn't we fight harder back then? Or why didn't I just go abroad with her? Then none of this would have happened. She wouldn't have suffered like that. What kind of life was that? Worse than death. My poor baby, she was in so much pain. Mary. It's my fault. I was the fool. She said the money got stolen. And I didn't believe her. I yelled at her. Accused her of lying. Said she was being manipulative to come home. Our Chloe was always the best. So full of life, our little spark. Just look at her now. I'm terrified something will happen to her. Mom cried harder. She was born premature. Remember? We promised to protect her forever. And now we've destroyed her. Those wounds on her body, how badly must they have hurt? Rose. That woman, she's the real liar. The schemer. Old Sue. I swear. I'll make her pay. Even if it kills me. Don't worry. That woman tricked everyone. Even if the Sue family falls. I'll make sure the one who hurt our daughter pays a price she can't bear. Though I had a 3-month leave from the hospital, I still went to work. Everyone at home was worried. But it was only when I was working that I felt remotely like a functioning human being. Even after work, I buried myself in the lab. I didn't care about the outside world. Only through my parents' whispers did I learn. Colin never got engaged to Rose. That engagement was tied to some agreement. And now it was cancelled. Rose's family was in serious trouble. Their company had been delisted from the stock exchange. Her father was even arrested for money laundering. Rose and her mother tried to flee the country but were stopped by the authorities, now under house arrest. My parents were still talking, but I tuned it all out and went upstairs. Colin seemed to have health issues. He kept showing up at our hospital every few days, though he never registered under my name, always someone else's. Still, it meant we kept bumping into each other. It annoyed me, especially when our eyes met. It made me lose my appetite. Sometimes I'd skip lunch altogether, but he'd just keep staring, wouldn't look away. If I weren't in a white coat, I would have punched him. On Mid-Autumn Festival, I passed out while sleeping. My door was locked. My parents panicked, broke the lock, rushed in, only to find I was just asleep. They finally relaxed. It hit me then. They were scared I'd try to kill myself. But how could I? This life was a gift from Cameron. Even if I'll never be as skilled a doctor as he was, I can still contribute to medicine. I won't die. Because someone like me doesn't deserve to go down there and face him. Chapter 15. I threw myself into work and study. My days were full. Even my relationship with Colin began to ease up. The reason? During a routine checkup, my dad was suddenly diagnosed with liver cancer. He needed a transplant, but neither my mom nor I was a match. Unexpectedly, Colin stepped up for testing, and he matched. I was still debating whether or not I should ask him whether he'd be willing to donate part of his liver, but he approached me first. Chloe, I'm willing. Take as much as you need. Whatever saves him. Just take it from me. Even though I tried to stay calm, his words still shook me. After a 6-hour surgery, the lead doctor finally announced it a success. The liver Colin donated had saved my dad's life, and my attitude toward him softened a bit. That day, while I was working in the lab, everything suddenly went black. I fainted. When I came to, I was lying on a big, unfamiliar bed, rubbing my temples. I sat up and headed for the door. As I took in the layout of the room, I realized this was Colin's house. Voices drifted in from the next room. I looked over. Colin was there, speaking with a middle-aged man I didn't recognize. Probably a friend. The man wore glasses, had a bit of a doctor's aura about him. Colin noticed me and smiled warmly. "You're awake. You overworked yourself. Your parents are away on a business trip. The hospital asked me to take care of you for now." I paused for a second. "Thank you." Outside, snow had started to fall. The world was covered in white. I couldn't wait to go downstairs to see it. So I did. And naturally, I didn't hear the rest of the conversation happening upstairs. Mr. Hahn, the man Miss Sue imagines, Cameron, is a product of her delusional disorder. This fictional Cameron has become the reason she continues living. In some ways, it's a good thing. Does she have any other illnesses? Colin asked. Will she be okay, forever? No, Mr. Hahn. Miss Sue will live a long, healthy life. She'll be safe, always. Chapter 16. The snow was beautiful. I stood in the yard, palm open, letting the crystal flakes land gently in my hand. Wanna build a snowman? I turned around. Colin stood behind me, dressed in loungewear, gentle and elegant as ever. I didn't answer, just took out my phone and pulled up a photo, then silently began to build. He gathered snow for me, made it easier to roll into balls, and little by little, the two of us built a snowman, lifelike and perfect. I took a photo of it and posted it online. When I looked up, I saw Colin smiling at me, warm and soft. "Chloe, it's been a long time since I saw you smile. You smiled just now, when you took that photo. You looked beautiful." That night, I was quiet. But not long after, I heard Colin turn away and cough, hard. I saw the blood on the handkerchief he tried to hide. He cleaned it up quickly and turned back to me, composed as always, still the same gentleman. Then he tilted his head up, looked at the falling snow, and said, "Chloe, the snows dyed both our hair white." I said nothing. A month ago, I had gone to consult Professor Sue in gastroenterology. By chance, I had seen Colin's medical record, late-stage stomach cancer, and no one else knew. I quietly looked up at the snow with him, and softly replied, "Yeah,